Hey everyone, back to another game review. Today we're going to be looking at a game I played as white against the Philidor defense. Not an opening that I see too often, not something that I'm incredibly booked up on. When I do see openings that I don't see a ton, I try to just play um, principled chess, solid chess, and just see where the opponent's plans are going and where the imbalances might be coming up on the board. Um, for some openings that I'm pretty well versed in, like the Accelerated Dragon, I can kind of blitz out some moves and I know where I want my pieces to go. I know where the opponent's pieces are going to go. I know where the exchanges are typically going to be. But for other openings that I don't see too often, it does take me a little bit of time to kind of think, all right, where is he planning? What's he looking to do? How are his pieces coordinating with each other? In this game, we're going to see that it is a pretty clean opening, but then the opponent kind of fumbles as we get in the middle game and doesn't have a clear plan and ends up kind of blundering in the end. So e4, e5, knight f3, d6, bishop c4. This is the Philidor defense. This pawn chain is pretty hard to chop away at the base. This bishop oftentimes comes here, knight out, bishop here, castles. Sometimes this knight will come here and here, and that's typical development for the Philidor. That was about my knowledge going into this. I go bishop c4, bishop e7, h3, trying to defend against this pin, and he responds knight f6. So attacking my center pawn, I think to myself, let me just support it with d3. Oh, I skipped forward a move. h6 is played. Still very much just standard opening moves of just safe development, looking to get castled, get our kings castled before we make any real pawn breaks or exchanges. Knight bd2. What I was thinking here was I may eventually push c3, d4, and I want something protecting this pawn. I was going to castle and put my rook on e1, also supporting a pawn, but this bishop maybe eventually, these pawns get pushed and gets on this diagonal. I wasn't too sure, but I knew knight there, castle, and probably pushing here eventually. Here responds c5. I was not familiar with c5. I'm sure this is perfectly standard. It says it's excellent, so I'm sure this is a perfectly, logical move. What you have to worry about when either c5 or a5 gets pushed is if you have a light squared bishop on this diagonal, which often happens in the Italian which I play, or in this opening, for instance, then you want to make a little luft for your bishop just so it can kind of retreat away. And some openings, black will put a bishop on light square bishop on e6, looking to exchange, and then take back with f6. And if he's castled kingside, this rook is then open. So just something to keep an eye on. Sometimes exchanging is okay of a move, but if you're not that well developed or you're not anticipating attacking plans with the rook coming here, then it's just something that can be a little bit difficult to defend against. So c5. I respond c3, looking to either get a little look for my bishop, prepare c3, d4. Just still opening development. Nothing too crazy. I wasn't looking to make any pawn breaks yet. My king is still in the center. I was like, I don't know where this guy's going with his pieces, but I don't feel like getting pawn stormed on the queen side, and I want a way to get my bishop out of there. That was my thinking. a6 is definitely coming down the queen side. I have a little left for my bishop, but here, when a6 or a5 gets played, a lot of times you want to play a4 to just prevent that from happening, because he will exchange and then you can capture this rook. You're not going to see it that often, but occasionally some people make that mistake. So I believe I play, a4. And here, again, I didn't know exactly what his ideas were going to be. If this knight was just going to hop in here, bishop maybe here and castles. I was like, I don't know what he's doing, but I should probably get ready to castle. Knight c6, castle. Bishop d7. I wasn't exactly sure why he didn't just castle, because now we're kind of at the point where I'm castled. I can break open the center pretty easily. He is just one move. He is just ready to castle now. Not even one move away, just ready to castle. But I was like, it's probably better for him to castle. But yeah, I want to break here. Not here because it's got a couple defenders. But I was like, I think I could probably get something going sooner rather than later. E4 is protected, so maybe I can push here. Maybe hop this knight in and push here. So this is the point where I go from, I'm not familiar with this opening, let me just develop my pieces, now to transitioning to, my pieces are developed, my king is safe. He doesn't have any obvious plans, and I have a slight edge in development, so let me look at some attacking ideas and some ways to create imbalances and kind of start going to the middle game. So this is where that kind of happens in your game, is your pieces are developed, your king is safe. Take a moment to just look at the board, see, am I ahead in development? Can I do any pawn breaks that are beneficial to me? What pawn breaks are the opponent looking for? What exchanges are the opponent looking for? Maybe he was going to put his queen here and, exchange here, get this knight in some way. I had no idea, but I was thinking maybe we're going to be getting some attacks going. Rook e1 and castles. So here, I was thinking about just typical plans of getting this knight over to this side. Maybe going here and here. I play knight f1, plays king h7. When you see someone play king h8 or king h7, it's a pretty dead giveaway. They're going to start pawn storming down the king side. I wasn't too worried because I just didn't see where the attack was going to be. Normally, they would prepare with like queen here, maybe getting this knight onto g5. Like, there would be a little bit more prep moves before the king move, and I just didn't see any obvious threats. So I was thinking to myself, I probably have a tempo to kind of finish getting this knight in here and getting ready to do some type of pawn break. A lot of times, if you see someone go king h8 or king h7, they're looking to start pawn storming down the king side. And usually there's a couple giveaways beforehand, like this knight will go h7, h5, queen and bishop battery, and then getting ready to push. But for some reason, they didn't do that. Knight g3 and knight a5. So this I was a little bit curious of, because you're attacking my bishop, but you're really not. It's nothing more than a one-move threat. I pull my bishop back. Maybe you go here. We take, and then what? Your knight's just on the edge of the board. You're not coming into either of these two squares. This bishop isn't really going to be threatening anything if it ever gets here or here. So I was like, why'd you move your king and then try to do an attack on the queen side? Something to look at is, after the opening, when you're in the middle of the game, you're looking for attacks. You want your pieces to be a bit harmonious, or to be harmonious and as coordinated as possible. He kind of hinted like he was going to do an attack on the king side, but then he threw his knight onto the edge of the board on the queen side for really no good reason. What might have been a better idea is queen here, bishop here, knight getting ready to kind of circle around this way after at some point. Black is playing a bit disjointed. No clear plans was the kind of sense I was getting. For me, I was thinking, although I don't have a clear pawn break just yet that I'm itching to do, I'm going to move my bishop and see where he goes from here because I don't think he's got a clear plan himself. Bishop a2, getting the bishop back. Plays h5. Or plays b5. This made no sense to me because I can just play the immediate b5, and if you take, you have to get this knight out somewhere, and then it's just well out of the game. It's not doing anything. You're not attacking anything with this bishop. It didn't make any sense to me why he was throwing his pawns down the queen side when there were 2 pieces still on the king side, and this light squared bishop wasn't really going to be attacking anything. I just had no idea what he was trying to do. C takes b4, c takes b4, knight f6. I didn't want to go here because after that takes, this rook is going to be staring at rook a1, and the light squared bishop is going to be pretty vulnerable. So I just go bishop d2, b takes a4. Can't take it with the queen because then you're going to have a discovered attack, which is not something I want to be dealing with. Bishop c5. Not so much looking to attack this, but looking to capture with the rook, and then any discoveries, I can just pull my rook back, and it's not like you have any tempo against my queen or anything, so it's nothing too crazy. So bishop c4. Knight a7. Trying to maybe come here and preventing me from recapturing on a4. This, to pause for a moment, black is in a worse position, harder to play position. This dark squared bishop has 0 vision. This knight is not going anywhere. This light squared bishop's only job is protecting a4, and this knight is completely out of the game. These rooks are not connected. This pawn is just hanging. So black played okay in the opening, but going into the middle game, it just seemed like he had no plans and no ideas of how to get a plan going. So I was a little bit playing more reactive chess than active chess, especially, more than I would have liked to. But he was making it kind of easy because he just kept opening up weaknesses and creating one-move threats that I had to respond to, but that actually just aided me in opening up the board and kind of getting my pieces more active. So when you're playing someone and you don't know what to do, resist pawn breaks that get your opponent's pieces more active. Look for pawn breaks that get your pieces more active. Maybe there was something he could have gotten going to get this dark squared bishop open, maybe rerouting this knight somewhere, and then this bishop can get active. Just something better than what he was doing. Bishop takes, taking the free pawn. Knight b5, it's not a discovered on this bishop because I just recapture. You take, and then we're fine. So bishop takes, bishop takes. You're not threatening this pawn. I can just move my bishop out of the way. Go back a second. I was debating in the game just bishop c3. Then I thought, rook comes here, and then I got to go queen here, and maybe queen here, rook here. It was just more defense than I wanted to play. So I should have explained this before I showed the move. d4. This pawn is definitely well protected by these rooks, by these knight and rook, so I wasn't worried. If pawn takes, I'm recapturing with the knight, putting pressure on this bishop. It can go back, and then I can kind of push this pawn here, protected by the knight, and this pawn can get recaptured. That was my thinking. I was not looking to capture here. I was kind of either hoping of pushing here or recapturing with the knight. He takes on d4. He takes d4. Here, white is better. It's +1. It's nothing decisive, but white is definitely better. Knight takes d4. It keeps. Knight takes d4. Bishop retreats. I'm going to look to push this pawn and capture on a4. That's what I was thinking. Queen can come here and help defend it, but this knight is not going anywhere. This bishop has 0 squares it can go to. My knight's in this. Contrast that with my knight's in the center. My dark squared bishop has pretty good vision. This rook is going to be able to capture a4 pretty quickly. This knight is doing not the best, not the most active job, but it's defending e4, so it's doing a perfectly good job. Black's pieces, restricted, not doing anything, not coordinated. My pieces, much more active, much more clear plan of how they're going to be coordinating with each other and what they're going to be doing, which is supporting this pawn push and capturing a4. So already here, black has no plan, no minimal active pieces, and it's just so much harder to play as black. I push b5. He goes queen b6. So here, I can just capture, and I mean, if you capture, I take. Actually, no, that's a lie. I capture, and if you capture rook here, rook, queen takes, rook can't go there because then I'm just taking. So queen b6 is an inaccuracy because it doesn't really help attack this pawn, and it's not like this pawn was going to be pushing down the board immediately anyway. So queen b6 is an inaccuracy. It doesn't stop this pawn. It doesn't help it get captured. It's not an attacker here, and it doesn't prevent a4 from getting captured. Looks like d5 is best. Okay, d5, getting this bishop now open, threatening e4. Interesting. He didn't play that, though. Queen b6. I go bishop b3, a little intermezzo. I think I could have just taken a4. I think I could have. Yeah, so I could have just taken a4. I saw that in the game, but then I thought to myself, should I just go bishop here? Should I go bishop here? Because this knight is hanging. Even though if you take capture, you're defending it. I thought, let me just go here, get this bishop to a better square, and then I can take a4. Because he's not coming in to really stop it anytime soon. So, bishop e3. I don't think he can just go there, but I didn't think of this. Excellent. Knight there. Bishop there. Oh, wow, and it still defends it. That is so interesting. Okay, I did not see this in the game, but this is a very interesting line. Go back to the game. Bishop e3. Just commits a simple blunder. Bishop takes b5. Not a free pawn. Rook b1. Pinning the bishop to the queen. Let's say rook here. Knight takes. Yeah, knight takes. Covered attack on the queen. And winning the bishop. So the game ended. He resigned. This was a game characterized by an opening I'm not familiar with. Thinking to myself, let me play safe, solid chess. Let me take a moment to pause and think of where he might be wanting to develop his pieces and plans he might be having, like storming down here and attacking my light squared bishop. And then right as I'm getting ready to look at some pawn breaks and some pushes, he ends up having some weird moves that aren't exactly clear to me what the plan was. Like king h7, which is a fine move on its own if it's accompanied by attacks and plans that kind of come along with that. Like pushing down the king side, this knight coming here, queen coming here, exchanging there. Like if it is coordinated with attacks in that theme of king h7, then that's fine. But then he threw in a knight move that was like a one-move attack on my bishop. I'm not exactly sure what he was thinking, but it just wasn't a coordinated attack. It wasn't even a clear attack. My pieces were much better able to respond because they were on much more active squares. This dark squared bishop did nothing the whole game. It saw nothing. Whereas all of my pieces were at least doing something. They all had a job in the game. And his were just very disjointed, and it led to a tough-to-play position for black, and eventually just a simple blunder. All trying to hang on to an a4 pawn that he wasn't going to be able to hang on to anyway. So this game, playing an opening you don't know, or you haven't faced in a while, you're not booked up on, play safe, safe chess, develop your pieces, get your king safe. If you don't know exactly what your opponent's doing, try to think from their perspective how his pieces are kind of coordinated and where he might be going. Like getting this king off this diagonal means this pawn push might be happening. The opponent in this game played very disjointed, no clear attacks, and ended up just kind of walking into a blunder that was definitely avoidable if he just took a moment to coordinate his pieces a bit better and think of where he wants to play on the board. So definitely a good game, but a good lesson in how to play safe chess and letting your active pieces make it easier to play against an opponent's poorly developed or poorly coordinated pieces and capitalizing on tactics and blunders as they arise. All right, thanks. I'll see you in the next one.